Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The factory whistle pierced the air, signaling the end of another grueling shift. Roger, a man forged from steel and sweat, stepped outside, his weathered face etched with deep lines. He moved with the precise grace of a predator, a testament to the relentless hours spent on the factory floor, supplemented by punishing workouts at the gym and fierce boxing matches. His wife, Melissa, had insisted he come home, a rare request that piqued his curiosity. But today, the hunt was stronger. He stopped by a dimly lit shop, the air thick with the scent of gunpowder. "A box of 9mm rounds, please," he said to the old man behind the counter. The man smirked. "Need some targets too? Or do you plan on shooting squirrels?" Roger's lips curled into a smile. "I'd say the targets are already lined up." He winked, a steel glint in his eyes catching the moonlight. Back in his car, he swapped out the target practice rounds for the new ones. Tonight, he felt a thrill, a whisper of fortune in the air. As he approached his driveway, he was surprised to see his best friend William's car parked there. Instead of pulling into the garage, he parked at the curb and walked inside. Melissa sat in her chair and William perched on the edge of the sofa next to her. "Well, well, look who decided to join the party," Roger said with a playful tone. He kissed Melissa on the top of her head and set a pack of beer on the coffee table. The night was just beginning, and Roger, ever the hunter, was ready to see where it would lead. William sat there like a stone, refusing the offered beer. He barely glanced at Melissa, his eyes fixed on something incomprehensible to Roger. Ever the charmer, Roger plastered on a smile, grabbed a beer, and took a long swig. "Darling," Melissa began, her voice carrying an urgent plea, "we need to tell you something." "This can wait, sweetheart," Roger cut her off, his voice rumbling low. "It's been a long day at the factory. I need a shower." He took another sip, the cold taste of the beer bringing him some relief. Hot water cascaded down his back, washing away the grime and tension of the day. He wasn't just cleansing himself of dirt, he was washing off the scent of danger, preparing for the unexpected turn of the evening. He shaved quickly, splashed on some cologne, masking the musky smell of sweat and steel, and securely hid his weapon in the holster beneath his flannel shirt. Passing by his daughter's room, he knocked softly. The door creaked open, and his now grown-up daughter, a whirlwind of energy, rushed into his arms, showering him with quick kisses. "Be ready, sweetheart," he said, his voice softened. "Daddy needs your help." "I'm ready, Daddy," she chirped, returning his embrace. Roger's smile widened. It was time to play. He descended the stairs, a calm, collected predator, ready to face the night. He had a plan, and he was prepared. Fortune favors the bold, and tonight Roger felt bold. Refreshed and armed, Roger surveyed the scene. William, usually boisterous, stood like a statue, head bowed, refusing even the solace of a cold beer. "What's wrong, William? Cat got your tongue?" Roger asked with a playful lilt in his voice. "Best friends should share a beer, not stare at the floor." William just shook his head, his eyes darting nervously toward Melissa. Unspoken tension hung in the air. Melissa, her voice trembling slightly, finally broke the silence. "Roger, darling, we need to tell you something. It's hard, but you need to know." She reached for his hand, her eyes pleading. "I love you. I've always loved you, and I always will. I still dream of growing old with you and raising our grandchildren. Please believe me." She began to squirm in her seat, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I'm tired of worrying about hurting you. I'm tired of hiding it. William and we've been close for 15 months now." The words hung in the air like a heavy, suffocating veil of betrayal. Roger's stomach churned, a cold knot forming in his chest. "But I love you," Melissa continued, her voice choking with tears. "I need him too. It's not about leaving you, it's that I need both of you." She straightened up, meeting his gaze. "I don't want a divorce. We can still have the grandchildren you've always dreamed of, but I can't deny myself. I need William, and I won't leave him." Her gaze shifted to William, who finally lifted his head and met her eyes. He still couldn't look at Roger. Roger's smile was cold, the humor gone. "So that's why this coward can't look me in the eye," he spat, his voice laced with venomous anger. "Too fearless to tell me himself, hiding behind you, letting you do the dirty work. You've really picked yourself a tough guy to enjoy, you damn cheater." Roger's smile was a thin, razor-sharp line of pure, unmasked rage. "Role-playing, huh? You two imagining yourselves as some half-baked storytellers? What kind of pathetic, twisted game is this?" William, finally finding his voice, leapt off the couch like a cornered animal. "You son of a bitch!" he growled, lunging at Roger. Roger anticipated the attack, honed by years of fights and gym sessions. He caught William by the collar, effortlessly twisted him around, and sent him crashing into Melissa. The sound of bones cracking echoed through the room as Roger's fist connected with William's face. Blood splattered, leaving a crimson stain on Melissa's dress, and William collapsed onto her, his head lolling back onto her lap. Roger, with a cold expression of satisfaction on his face, reached into his shirt pocket and turned off the recording on his phone. The evidence had been captured. He had taken several photos to remember the betrayal, perhaps even framing them, a chilling reminder of his righteous anger. "Not very mature, I know," Roger said dryly, pointing at the crumpled figures on the floor. "But sometimes, things just need to be dealt with." The silence was pierced by the sharp sound of the doorbell. With a predatory smile, Roger calmly walked to the door and let the bailiff in. Melissa, still in shock, sat holding William's head close to her. Her cries were a disjointed symphony of pain and fear. "Are you Melissa, ma'am?" the bailiff asked, his voice calm and professional. Melissa, the performer, suddenly stopped her wailing. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling like that of a frightened child. "Are you with the police?" "No, ma'am," the bailiff replied. "I'm a representative of the court." The bailiff, a stoic figure in a gray suit, handed Melissa the divorce papers, a cold official document that marked the end of their marriage. He turned to leave, but Roger stopped him with an upraised hand. "Hold on a moment," Roger said with a sly gleam in his eye. "I need you to witness something." He stepped up to the top of the stairs and called out, his voice echoing through the house. "Come on down, sweetheart. The show's over." Sylvia, his daughter, a whirlwind of anger and confusion, came down the stairs, hauling 2 suitcases and a backpack over her shoulders. She was like a petite warrior princess, ready for battle. "Daddy," she said, her voice a mix of fury and sorrow as she hugged him fiercely. "Get your things on the porch. I can't wait to get out of here." Roger's lips curled into a smile, a predatory grin of a man who had won. "You can't turn my daughter against me!" Melissa screamed, her voice breaking with terror and disbelief. "No!" Roger replied, his voice calm and even, his eyes locked on Melissa. "You did that yourself, meticulously destroying our 40-year marriage." Roger leaned in closer, his breath a hot gust against her cheek. "First of all, you remember Tom, don't you? Your lover before Jack, Dennis, and Richard, not to mention that loser?" Melissa nodded, her eyes widening in panic. "But how did you find out?" "Very simple," Roger replied, a cold smile playing on his lips. "I installed a surveillance system and tapped the phone lines. You've been a busy little bee, haven't you?" "It's a shame you don't know the laws on recording conversations, darling," Roger said, his lips curling into a mocking smirk. "It's completely legal as long as one party consents. For instance, the one whose life is about to be turned upside down." His gaze locked onto Melissa, his voice dripping with icy venom. "Where was I? Ah, yes. You were busy spilling your little secrets while I was busy ensuring that our daughter and I weren't left unattended, you pathetic cheater." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Remember that DNA test kit I gave Sherry for her 25th birthday a few months ago?" Melissa's face went pale. "No, I don't remember." "Oh, it's true," Roger cut her off, his voice growing colder, more metallic. "DNA doesn't lie, unlike you. And you know what, darling? It turns out Sherry isn't exactly my daughter. The truth, dear, is much more interesting." He tossed the house and car keys onto the table, a gesture of complete indifference. "I'll be out on the porch. Sherry's waiting." Sherry, her eyes wide with a mix of confusion and fear, spoke up. "How will we get by without the car, Dad?" "Don't worry, sweetheart," Roger replied with a mischievous glint in his eye. "The house and car will go to her in the divorce. Why take them now?" He paused, a slow, deliberate smile spreading across his face. "Besides, our ride will be here any minute." 2 minutes later, 2 more cars arrived, both sleek and expensive. Roger retrieved his suitcases and duffel bag from the garage and helped Sherry load them into the trunk of the first car. A woman with black hair cascading down her back stepped out from the driver's seat. She embraced Roger, giving him a long, passionate kiss. Then she turned to Sylvia with a knowing smile on her lips. "I'm Emma," she said, "William's ex-wife, and you must be Sylvia. It's a pleasure to finally meet you." Emma wrapped Sylvia in a hug. Finally, she pulled away, her eyes meeting Roger's. "Now," she said, her voice husky with anticipation. "Shall we go?" Roger, with a smug grin on his face, turned to Emma, the dark-haired goddess who had just arrived. "Ready to go, darling? I've already prepared a hot bath for us. How about some Chinese food? Something to celebrate our new beginning." He glanced at Sylvia, who was looking at him with a mixture of confusion and admiration. "It seems I didn't know much about you, Dad. Take me home. I miss my husband," she murmured in a barely audible whisper. As they drove away, leaving Melissa and William standing on the porch, a wave of relief washed over Roger. His plan was in motion, and everything was falling into place perfectly. He looked back at the house, imagining the scene unfolding inside. Roger had long known about Melissa's infidelity, but he wasn't sure if Sylvia was really his daughter and had given her a DNA test. He had raised Sylvia with love and couldn't make a decision about Melissa on his own, so he invited his daughter to stay with them. Together, Sylvia and Roger decided to teach Melissa a lesson for her betrayal. Now, videos featuring her had spread across online platforms, and Melissa had become famous as an adult film star. And Roger's life continues in the arms of Emma. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel. Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Roger, I can only imagine your surprise when her ex-husband reached out to you. After all, Clarissa must have painted a picture of how badly our family treated her, didn't she? You likely expected me to lose my temper or even threaten you. Rest assured, that's not my style. Allow me to share a bit of my story. There was a time when my love for Clarissa was all-consuming. We tied the knot right after college, stepping into a world where finances were tight and dreams seemed distant. Yet we poured our hearts into building a life together, believing that our struggles would pave the way to something beautiful. We envisioned a future filled with love and partnership, but somewhere along the way, that dream unraveled. As our children grew more independent and began to take care of their own needs, Clarissa seemed to develop what I called a preemptive nesting syndrome. She started envisioning a life beyond motherhood and sought new passions to fill the void. Unfortunately, these pursuits took a dark turn and led her down a path of infidelity. Influenced by a friend at work, she convinced herself that she had me exactly where she wanted, and the consequences were devastating. And here we are. Life has a curious way of reshaping our expectations, doesn't it? I hope you find joy in your new chapter, but I also hope you proceed with caution. She had the freedom to live as she pleased without needing my approval. Meanwhile, I stood on the brink of losing everything I held dear, my home, my dignity, and precious time spent with my children. The thought of Clarissa finding another man to replace me as their father loomed over me like a dark cloud. She knew exactly where to strike, using my vulnerabilities against me. On one fateful night, after a moment of intimacy, she laid out her plans for our future. There was no room for negotiation, no space for my thoughts or feelings. She firmly declared her desire to enter an open marriage, and I was paralyzed by the fear of what might happen if I resisted. "If you doubt my intentions," she warned, "you should consult a lawyer." Despite all reason, I followed her advice. I sought legal assistance, and to my horror, her words proved true. I was ensnared in a web of despair, fully aware of the peril I faced. My love for my children burned brighter than ever after her betrayal. In a desperate attempt to regain some semblance of control, I withdrew to the guest bedroom, leaving behind the life we once shared. Our closeness vanished, and the silence that filled our home was deafening. My heart ached at the realization that my relationship with the children had become my sole focus, more important than anything else in this shattered reality. The children and I took on all the household responsibilities, while Clarissa began to transform into a figure we barely recognized, a woman who would come and go from our lives, pursuing her own pleasures. The only acknowledgement of our feelings came in her decision not to bring her lovers into our home, a small mercy in an increasingly complex situation. She justified her choices to the children, claiming it was now her turn to seek fulfillment, as if a life overshadowed by debt somehow excused her actions. But her quest for happiness seemed to revolve around a whirlwind of fleeting encounters with countless men. These pursuits led her down a dark path, resulting in 2 abortions, the last of which rendered her unable to conceive. Strangely, she welcomed this news, as it freed her from the need to use contraception, a burden she had imposed on herself. Yet her reckless disregard for protection had dire consequences. She contracted multiple sexually transmitted diseases, earning her a reserved parking spot at the health department, where she regularly went for tests and treatments. Clarissa's story became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of how the search for fulfillment can sometimes lead to unforeseen and tragic outcomes, leaving the rest of us to pick up the pieces after her choices. You should definitely check if she has any venereal diseases. Some of them can be quite difficult to treat. You might be wondering how I managed to cope with these emotional roller coasters. Well, my heart, once shattered into pieces, began to heal, largely thanks to my children and a few compassionate women who helped me keep my sanity and managed to keep everything hidden from Clarissa. The love I once felt for Clarissa has transformed into a deep concern for her well-being, both physical and emotional. I can only hope that after our recent divorce and your upcoming marriage, she is finally ready to prioritize her health. It's painful to see how much she has changed. The vibrant woman I once loved now seems like a shadow of her former self. Roger, I know she has the potential to be a wonderful wife. I was fortunate enough to witness her at her best over the years, and I will always cherish that gift. I hope you can see her in a new light. I want to share a thought with you. Try not to forget that someone who has a habit of cheating will continue to do so. After 38 years of marriage to this woman, I recommend sticking to the wise mantra trust, but verify when it comes to her. In conclusion, I sincerely wish both of you all the best as you enter this new chapter of married life. But I am confident that after reading my letter, you will change your mind about marrying Clarissa. However, if you dare to marry this cheater, please do not invite me or the children to your wedding. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold back from your foolishness and will burst out laughing. Good luck. Michael. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.